Welcome, everyone, to Southern Virginia women's lacrosse action here from the fields at Southern Virginia University. I'm Jim Bresnahan, joined by Mike Harmon, getting ready to bring you Southern Virginia and Salisbury women's lacrosse action. Mike had a little delay. It was supposed to start at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Going to have about a 20-25 minute delay, I guess, at the end of it because the referees were late getting here.
Yeah, the referees didn't, I guess, riding together and maybe had some issues with the road systems. But again, the girls are out there. Feel sorry for them for being out in the cold weather.
Yeah, for those not aware, it's about 40, 41 degrees here?
41 degrees and kind of drizzly. So it was not as nice a weather as we saw the other day for the men's game that we had.
But then again, as we've seen over the last month or so, there is no snow, and with this kind of conditions, obviously, maybe we couldn't be playing baseball or softball today, but we can certainly play lacrosse.
Oh, they can play lacrosse on this turf field anytime, just as long as the snow's not on the field. So, again, the girls are looking forward to this. They're playing Salisbury, who was preseason ranked number 1. They've fallen down to number 14 now, but still a team that's very much in the national title picture.
They are 3-2 on the season. The Knights come in 0-7 on the season, coming off that tough loss, of course, recently to Columbia, an 11-10 loss where they lost literally in the last seconds. Now they're facing a Salisbury team, as you mentioned, that's 3-2. But then again, they've lost 2 close games to Catholic and to Washington Lee. Catholic in overtime, Washington Lee by, I think, a single goal. So this is a Salisbury team that could easily be 5-0. They beat York, who's in the top 15 in D3. And, of course, they are the defending champions who beat Southern Virginia last year 14-1.
Yeah, and those 2 losses aren't bad losses. I think those are both away losses, and both teams are ranked in the top 20. So it's not a bad loss, and I'm sure they scheduled those games outside their conference to make themselves a whole lot better going into the end of the year.
You wonder, for Salisbury, how many graduation losses they had from that team that won the championship last year, and is it just a matter that they rebuild, obviously, reload, and maybe had the slow start, if you want to call a couple of losses by 1 goal a slow start. And maybe towards the end of the season, they might reign as champs of the Capitol and perhaps also have a chance to defend their national title.
I'm sure they'll get better as the season goes along. Again, anytime you bring in new faces, it's always a little bit of a chemistry issue. But they're at where Southern Virginia wants to be, not only in the national recognition, but also with the numbers that they have, and that's what Coach Weber is really trying to point toward. Is this is where we want to be, ladies. When we play these teams, notice how they come on and off the field. Notice how they play as units, and this is where we're growing.
Yeah, their overall roster is 2.5 times as big as
Yes.
the Southern Virginia roster.
Yeah, they have 3 full teams that they have out there, and they'll come on in waves, and it's kind of like a hockey lines that they have, and everybody knows their own line and who they're supposed to be playing with, and you can just see them as they come off the bus. They walk off in their teams also, so they become very much regimented in who they're playing with.
And they've got a lot of good players, including, I believe, Hannah Young, number 18, and also Kate Haker, I believe she's number 17. They really have good balanced scoring. Their top goal scorer has 11, and of course the Knights' top goal scorer, Rainey Whitworth, the junior, she's got 21 goals in 7 games. So that's a credit for Rainey, obviously. She's averaging 3 goals a game. But when you look at Salisbury, their top goal scorer, 2 different people with 11 goals each. That obviously speaks of the balance they must have.
Well, the balance that they have, and also the type of competition that they play. We noticed that most of their games are 10-9, 8-9. I think they've got up into about 15 goals in one game and one game only. So they're very balanced, but also the teams they played are very defensive-minded too, and Salisbury is very defensive-minded.
Now, the question for Southern Virginia fans is really twofold. Will there be any leftover negative effects from that extremely tough loss they had to Columbia?
They'll have to get past that. That's the one thing that coaching staffs do a really good job of around here is moving from a negative to the next game. They've learned from it. I'm sure they've came out and practiced 1 or 2 points that they saw on the film. We need to shore this up, and they're looking forward to this game right here and not looking backwards.
And, of course, you cannot look backwards not against a team as talented as Salisbury.
Yeah, they're like you said, a very talented and quality team, but not just them, but all the teams in the Capital Athletic Conference are very talented, and you got Mary Washington that's up on the top. We got still Frostburg who's playing really well, and then you got Salisbury in the middle of the pack so far.
And we are ready to go. Opening draw here from the fields at Southern Virginia University, and we'll see, Mike, if either team is impacted by the half-hour or so delay.
I wouldn't think either team would be affected at all. It's just they just keep on warming up.
And Salisbury wins the opening draw and brings it into the offensive area quickly. We'll see how the goalkeeper for Southern Virginia, Cami Miller, does today, facing a very good team. And right off the bat, a goal for Salisbury. That only took about 20 seconds or so.
And again, we've seen that the Knights have some issues with defensive transition, and it looks like that the Seagulls really took advantage of, after they won the draw, coming down and catching the Knights kind of napping.
You wonder what a goal like that will do when you're really taking on a team that's got the mystique of the program that Salisbury has, to have a goal like that scored in the first 24 seconds.
Well, that's not what you want to see happen if you're the coaching staff or the players of Southern Virginia. But you also know that who you're playing, and you have definite goals today. Maybe it's the ultimate goal is always to win, but you have other goals that you want to look at trying to achieve.
Now, Southern Virginia, Mike, according to our schedule, next week they were supposed to play at Sweetbriar. Is that game still on, do you know, on the 24th?
I haven't heard any different
Haven't seen anything on the website about it being canceled, and they were supposed to play on the 24th. And then after that, they've got St. Mary's coming up next Friday, a 5 o'clock game, home game against St. Mary's. So a couple of Capital Conference games today, Salisbury, next Friday, St. Mary's.
And it doesn't get any easier as you get into the Capital Athletic Conference. So like I said, all quality teams.
Well, you talked about York, how good York is this year, and of course Salisbury beat York at home.
Yeah, and we saw Mary Washington. So.
Nice pass and another point-blank shot for a goal for Salisbury. They have scored now, Mike, 2 goals in just a little over a minute.
Yes, this isn't what the Knights had envisioned to start out with. We had Coach Jordan Sorensen on the team, on broadcast with us with the men's broadcast last time, and he was talking about some of the goals that they've had, and he was really hoping that they would be able to hold Salisbury down a little bit more than what we've seen in this quick minute and 1 second.
I know last year, he mentioned this on the webcast a few days ago, that they were excited to get that one goal as they lost last year's game 14-1. And of course, you've talked all along for both men's and women's lacrosse. You kind of take baby steps here and there. And of course, having scored a goal against Salisbury last year, I would imagine they wanted to be competitive today. And early on, it's 2-0 here, Salisbury.
And you can look at some of the issues that the Knights have had in defensive transition has been the one thing that's really let them down over the last couple games, not being able to get back and form that nice solid wall to deter some of the nice runs into the middle that we've seen that Salisbury has done.
By the way, in the background, you can see them ready for softball, I guess, tomorrow. We've got a doubleheader at 12 o'clock noon, and then a second game scheduled around 2 o'clock against Penn State Harrisburg. As women's softball will be a webcast tomorrow, Mike, a doubleheader against Harrisburg, and I don't believe the women's softball team has just played that one doubleheader back in February against Averett.
Yeah, they had just one game because of the weather that we've had. They're itching to get outside, and
so they've had it basically after their opener against Averett. I think about 24 days. It'll be tomorrow, 3.5 weeks without having played an official game.
Yeah, and baseball's right there with them. Although baseball did get a game in the other day, and unfortunately lost by 1 to a conference opponent. But both teams are really struggling with trying to get outside.
Salisbury working close to the net. Another good pass, point blank shot. Another goal for Salisbury, and they are just making Cami Miller really putting her in really a tough situation. I mean, they're floating people in front of the net, Mike, and really good pass and catch. And then, of course, at that point, again, we're talking point-blank shots, and now it is 3-0 Salisbury.
Yeah, they're running a lot of people through the middle of the box, and Southern Virginia did a good job on the first 3 cutters. That 4th cutter, they kind of got caught watching where the ball was, and Salisbury put it right on the doorstep, and with as good as shooters that Salisbury has, you cannot let them have that one-on-one with your goalkeeper.
And now the Knights are just trying to find a way to win a draw, Mike, and try to get some offense going here.
Yeah, if the Knights don't get down into the offensive end very soon, this game can get really out of hand.
Knights coming off a couple of losses at home to Beloit, 17-9, and that, as we mentioned, that very tough loss to Columbia, 11-10. Now earlier, those games were pretty competitive, those last two home games. But earlier, of course, Mike, they've had losses of 22-2, 17-8, 19-2, 16-8, and also 16-3. That road game at Mary Washington back on March the 7th.
Yeah, and we were hoping that the Knights would really turn the corner, especially defensively. We saw them not give up as many goals in the last two games, and today looks like they kind of reverted a little bit back to some bad habits.
Zoe Bradshaw tried to run through defenders, then lost it out of bounds. And as Zoe found out right there, it's very tough to do one-on-ones against a team as deep and as talented as Salisbury. And look at that pass upfield. And here come the Seagulls on the attack again with a 3-0 lead.
Yeah, you see those technical passes and cuts through the middle of the box. That's the reason why they're defending national champions.
Salisbury has scored 3 goals. We have played just over 3.5 minutes. Knights trying to stymie this offensive possession for the Seagulls. And Salisbury keeps looking to pass to an open person right in front of the net.
You'll see a lot of weaving going in and out by Salisbury. They try to set some little, what we call in basketball, rear end screens, and they do a really good job at it so far.
That pass a little off, but it's going to be scooped up by Salisbury, so they still have it. Knights had a chance there, Mike, to pick up the loose ball, couldn't get to it.
Yeah, Salisbury just a little bit quicker to the ball, but the Knights are doing a better job on the defensive end right now.
It's tough for the defenders to keep up with these people who just keep breaking, looking for an opening.
Yeah, and you see that weave action going in and out that just causes natural screens. And, like we said, with the shooters.
Another shot in.
The shooters that Salisbury has, if you give them an inch, they can find those corners and creases.
That was Kate Haker, the senior attack, who I believe that was her 12th goal. She came in tied for the lead as far as Salisbury top goal scorers. And right now it is 4-0, Salisbury on top, and we have played just a little over 4 minutes. The men found out how tough it is to really come from behind, kind of similar. Mary Washington game, of course, a few weeks back where they fell behind and trailed at halftime 11-1 and never really could catch up.
And against these teams in the Capital Conference, if you do that, if you start falling behind, they're like sharks. They smell blood in the water. They're going to keep on attacking. There's no mercy rule whatsoever, and these teams use games just as like they would practice.
Here comes Rainey Whitworth trying to get the offense going, scooping up the ball, then getting pushed from behind and losing the ball. And now Salisbury right back on the attack again.
And you can see the Knights trying to get back in the defensive transition, pointing out who has who, and better job that time of getting back, not allowing a straight run to the goal.
We've played almost 5 minutes, Mike, and the Knights really have not had a clear-cut offensive possession. They've had Rainey and Zoe had it for a few seconds, and in each case lost it. And they're just looking for their first real offensive possession of the game.
And as we've seen earlier, their best offensive weapon is one-on-one play, and Salisbury, their defense, is really good at stopping one-on-one as they run 2 or 3 people at a person to check the ball out of the sticks.
And as you can see, Salisbury, they want to get somebody open over the middle, but if they don't really have a good shot, they'll back it out. They're pretty patient at times too.
Very patient, and again, we've seen just the prowess of their passing. So they don't mind sending a lot of cutters because they know that they'll find somebody right there on the doorstep.
Salisbury keeps looking for an opening. Keep running people in and out. Knights have to be patient trying to stop the attack, and another shot is taken. This one goes off to the left of the goal.
And even though that shot was taken, much better job of the defense of the Knights, especially Miss Vanderwind, she was right there and pushed the Salisbury shooter a little bit further to the right than she wanted.
You know, and it really comes down to the defense because you get somebody wide open, Mike, who catches a pass, point blank range from Cammie Miller. There's not a whole lot she can do.
No, there's not. So it's all about the defense in front of her, making the shots as hard as possible.
Salisbury keeps looking for the opening here. They already have a 4-0 lead as we have played just a little over 6 minutes. Had an opening there, didn't take the shot.
You know, and Salisbury's just not going to shoot the ball to shoot the ball. If they're shooting the ball, they know they have a great chance of it going in.
And there's another goal for Salisbury as they patiently get goal number 5. That shot, a low shot, just to the left of Cammie, and she could not stop it. And now suddenly 5-0 Seagulls on top here.
And the pass that led to that goal was just outstanding. I think out of the 5 goals, 4 of them have been assisted. And again, just passing that the Seagulls are showing is just where the Knights want to get to.
And now the Knights, are, again, as we mentioned, just have not really had a clear-cut, long offensive possession. They've had possession of the ball for just a couple of seconds with Rainey and Zoe. And right now they just want to try to really generate an offensive possession. To do that, Mike, they've really got to win this draw.
Got to win this draw, and then also when they do have possession of it, they have to try to not just go one-on-one, but make several passes to the open people that are going down into the offensive zone.
And the draw is definitely scooped up by Salisbury, so they are on the attack again here, leading 5-0 already.
You know, and we've watched Mary Washington play here, another Capital Athletic Conference foe. But this is the best that we've seen anybody come off that draw, pick the ball up off the ground. There's been 3 or 4 times that Salisbury has just picked the ball up off the ground without it rolling anyplace else.
Yeah, we'll have to check the Capital standings here in a little while because I'm thinking it's hard to really picture another team in the Capital that is more talented than the Salisbury team.
I think Salisbury is 1-0 right now because they played York.
Yep.
York obviously being ranked. We'll check out those. But
I think York was. I'm not sure if I think they were number 12 in the D3 rankings. Nice pass again. That shot is rejected, and the Knights have their first real good save, and now scoop up the ball and will try to go on offense if they can clear the ball out of their defensive area.
And they need to do something quick.
Here's Zoe with it. Knights trying to get a goal here to kind of stymie this momentum as Zoe goes all the way upfield, loses, tries to go through a couple of defenders and loses the ball.
I think they're going to give it over to Zoe again. A little bit of push there. Oh, we have a break in the action. This is only the second game for everybody in the Capital Athletic Conference, and you have Frostburg, Mary Washington, Salisbury, and Christopher Newport all at 1-0.
Zoe just got crushed that time in between a couple of defenders.
Oh, and they're stopping the clock because she is really hurt.
But we have seen her against Beloit and Columbia really take some tumbles to the turf as well. And she is not averse to going in between defenders. She's just very, very tough.
Yeah, she is. And she plays the same way on the soccer field also. And we've seen her take some falls there.
Zoe was bumped again going upfield.
You know, and I think the referees are going to start calling a little bit tighter after seeing those 2 massive hits on Zoe.
Here comes Zoe again. Spin move. Goes through a couple of defenders. Trying to work her way close to maybe taking a shot or at least passing to a teammate. Got it over Rainey. Let's see if Rainey takes it one-on-one. Or they try to pass behind the cage. As you see how Salisbury plays everybody very tight defensively.
Very tight. More of what we see on the men's side. Usually on some of the women's games we've seen the defenders fall back, play even with the cage and not try to go back behind the cage and putting pressure on it. Salisbury, though, will pressure you all over the field.
Yeah, they challenge the person, in this case, Claire Hodling, behind the cage. Now Zoe's got it. Knights really for the first time today with the ball possessing it for about 30 or 40 seconds. Zoe with a move. She lost it, and it's scooped up by Salisbury. Good defense by the Seagulls to poke that one away from Zoe Bradshaw.
Yeah, that was a nice check there to the cross. And, you know, again, the Knights a little bit loose with the ball as they're trying to attack the goal.
And Salisbury right back on the attack again.
And you can see the Knights doing a much better job of getting back, although I'd like to see them sprint all the way down and not find a man and just jog along with them.
Salisbury's had a pretty good success rate. Another pass close, and
nice save.
Block by Cammie.
I think that went off her hand, though, which may cause some problems later on.
And it was scooped up by Salisbury, so they are still on the attack. Played over 10 minutes now. Salisbury has 5. Knights still looking for their first goal. Point blank shot blocked
nice
again
job
by Cammie.
Oh, that's 2 great saves.
She had the save and possession, Mike.
They must have called, and they're pushing the back.
Real shame there because Cammie not only made the stop but was able to scoop up the ball, but now Salisbury, due to the whistle, back with it. This is Kate Haker with it. She's got at least 1 goal today. Came in as tied for Salisbury's leading scorers. Nice pass in the middle, and shot no good. But Salisbury still has it.
And you notice that time Cammie came out to the edge of the goal circle there, trying to cut off the angle a little bit more. And, you know, she's been put under fire for so long in this game, she's going to start taking some of it in her own hands.
Oh, a point-blank shot and score by Salisbury as Caitlin Talbert, the junior, was able to score, getting another pass right in front of Cammie Miller, and just impossible for her to stop that shot. And now the Seagulls are on top here, 6-0.
And timeout by Southern Virginia. I think they're going to be checking on Cammie Miller on her hand, because on one of those shots that she blocked, it was with her hand, and she's really hurting.
And also trying to settle them down, Mike, because they are facing perhaps, I guess, ostensibly, maybe the best team they'll face all season. And it hasn't been very pretty here in the first 12 minutes or so.
Yeah, it'll be one of the best teams they face. You know, York is also ranked, and we saw how great Mary Washington was, and they're not even ranked in the top 20. I think they have received a few votes, but the Capital Athletic Conference is just stacked.
Yeah, they've got York coming up at home game, April the 11th. Newport's the last home game, April the 15th. And, of course, road contest still to come in April at Frostburg, at Marymount, at Wesley.
And those are just, again, when you go on the road,
you look at the
really
Capital
hard.
standings. Who, I guess, might be their best shot at getting a victory?
Well, right now, Marymount is at 1-5. Everybody else is up at 4-3. You have Wesley at 4-3, York at 5-2.
Everybody else is 500 or better.
500 or better. So it looks like Marymount and Southern Virginia, that's going to be a really good, even game. So I think we played them away. Again,
yeah, that game's April the 4th at Marymount.
At least it'll be warmer then, and the Knights will be able to, not have to worry about standing out waiting for referees. If the referees are late to the Marymount game, they'll stay warmed up and not have to worry about freezing to death.
What do you think they're telling the players right now? Perhaps to settle down. This is a team that that you can run with, or maybe they're actually talking about more offense than defense right now. Or?
Well, we can again use some basketball analogies where the team that's going to play against Kentucky. He's sitting there and he said, do we have a chance? He says, well, every time you step out on the court, you have a chance to play. But these young ladies just have to understand that right now, man for man, and overall, they're facing a very, very talented team and may be better talented than they are man to man. So what they're trying to do is just calm down and say, listen, you're playing the 2-time defending national champions for the last 2 years.
Yep.
You're playing someone that's ranked preseason ranked number 1. They're ranked in the top 20 now. Just enjoy it, have fun, but let's make sure that we're doing, and I'm just guessing, but most coaches just give you 2 things to try to work on. I'm sure it's defensive transition, and then on the offensive end, let's execute.
But as you mentioned, one of the Southern Virginia's offensive strengths this season has been one-on-one, and as we've seen here in the first 12 minutes, one-on-one just not going to work against Salisbury's defense. Sooner or later, you're going to lose the ball.
Yeah, so that's why I'm sure on the timeout they were talking about maybe changing that up, putting in a couple set plays that they want to run the next time they have the ball.
Not to mention losing the draw, because unless you win the draw, you may never see the ball for an offensive possession.
Especially the way that Salisbury's shooting. And that's one of the strengths of Salisbury is to win the draw and then keep possession of the ball for a very long time or put the ball in the goal.
And right now the Seagulls already leading here 6-0, looking for more goals, looking for goal number 7. That is Haker throwing back out.
And still, though, if you watch all this movement that Salisbury has, a lot of people cutting off other players' rear ends, and the passing has been spot on so far.
And again, a very patient team. If it's not there, they'll just keep moving it around.
Because they've played so long together, their system's in place for so long that they just understand it and know it and trust it that much.
That, and they're not really looking, as you mentioned, to take a risk. I mean, if it's not really a good, guaranteed, good look at a shot, they're not gonna really take that shot. They'll back it out.
Yeah, they don't want to put their defense at risk. They want to get a good shot, or if they do take a shot, they want to make sure they're in position to have the ball come back
right
to them.
There, a perfect example as Gabby Nieves got it just a couple of feet from the goal, but just didn't have a good look at a shot, Mike, so she backed it out.
Yeah, the ball was coming out of her pocket on her cross, and just made sure that she kept possession of it, get it back out, keep on running through it.
Cami Miller right there at goal, making sure nothing goes in, but Salisbury looking to run another cutter through, and they do, but no shot taken there. Nope, no good look at the shot by Durante, so she went ahead and backed it out.
Yeah, the angle just wasn't there. Some players would have tried to force that shot. She was just smart enough to say, you know what, we're just going to keep on running our pattern.
You just don't see any one-on-one from Salisbury, too. They just keep running cutters.
Yeah, except for that opening goal, Jim, we haven't seen, or we have seen all their goals being assisted on. You know, this kind of reminds you of the old North Carolina four corners.
Yeah, a little bit.
Where they're going to run you and run you and run you, make some back cuts, and finally get a layup.
And either you just kind of fall asleep or you try a double team and you leave somebody open.
And I'm sure that's one of the things that Salisbury would like you to do is try to come double team them. If you do, you leave one of these sharpshooters open, they're going to find one of the corners of the goal.
And this is just a tough offensive philosophy to combat, especially obviously when you're trailing here 6-0 already.
But again, the Knights doing much better. Hopefully, you know, they stay with their defense. Maybe the ones that'll lull themselves to sleep will be Salisbury. Make an errant pass, and the Knights can pick it up.
Nice pass over the middle, but no real good look at a shot, so they back it out again. This is Talbert, who's got at least a goal today already.
You know, and this is why Salisbury's goal scoring is down around 10 a game.
Nice shot. Oh, boy, that was a good angle on the shot taken by Megan Wallenhorst, the junior. She went high that time, high and left of Cami Miller, and scores.
And that was a lot of power she generated just with a quick wrist flip.
And so Salisbury now is on top here 7-0, about halfway through this first half.
And as we said earlier, you know, Salisbury was ranked number 1 to begin with. Preseason, they have lost 2 games, one to Catholic and one to Washington and Lee, and Washington and Lee's ranked in the top 20. But I think they're starting to find themselves and hit their stride over the last 2 games. They're really starting to look like national champions again.
Well, we mentioned other sports, so we've got that Penn State-Harrisburg doubleheader for softball coming up on Saturday, Mike. Saturday starting at noon. We've got women's softball coming up on Saturday, and of course next week we've got women's lacrosse action next Friday. We've got St. Mary's right here at Southern Virginia taking on the Knights. That'll be next Friday at 5 o'clock. Also have a scheduled softball doubleheader coming up next Tuesday, March the 24th, against Mary Baldwin.
Yeah, and this Saturday will be the first games for the conference also. No one's been able to play in the conference against each other. There's been some games that have been scheduled and had to be postponed and moved around. So that it's going to be a new start for both teams.
And baseball has still looking to get that first home game in. They are scheduled right now to play March the 28th against Merrimack, a doubleheader. And we are scheduled to have a webcast April the 2nd, Mary Washington. And, of course, the men's lacrosse team playing on the road tomorrow at St. Mary's at 4 o'clock after that big win against Cobleskill earlier this week, their first victory of the season. And I know Jason Lamb and the men were hoping to go to St. Mary's, get a big Capital Road victory, and also build a winning streak.
That'd be great for them to carry on the momentum that they developed over their last game. Hopefully, though, not in that fashion. I'd like to see them get ahead and stay ahead the whole game.
Still talking about that comeback when they fell behind 10-7, and then were able to make the comeback, Mike, to win and with basically 4 goals in the last 4 minutes.
Yeah, they really turned it on in those last 4 minutes. You know, they got up by 4 goals at the beginning of the game too. I think they had a 5-1 lead, and we thought that it was going to be an easy game for the Knights, but you know, the other team had other thoughts, and again, the Knights just did a great job of coming back in that last 4 minutes.
Well, you made a good point, too, when it was 10-10 that whoever lost that game, it was going to be a tough loss with a lot of frustration. You had to feel for Cobleskill because, as you mentioned, they came from a 5-1 deficit, took the lead at 10-7, and then ended up losing that game. So that was probably a tough one for them to lose, as the Knights had it momentarily. Zoe Bradshaw losing the ball, and now here comes Salisbury back on the attack.
And Zoe really didn't keep that her stick close enough to her to kind of ward off any of the hits when she's holding it out there, just hanging it. You'll be able to knock the ball away very easily. And when Salisbury sends 2 defenders at you, they are very skilled both on the offensive end, and we see now on the defensive end being able to knock the ball away.
Yeah, talk about time of possession. Even though it's not a stat that is kept, boy, this one could be like out of a 30-minute half, it could be 26 minutes for Salisbury.
Yeah, and
that bad pass there behind the intended target, but Salisbury, Mike, is able to scoop up the ball, and it looked like they were going to maybe take a shot, but they back it away again.
Yeah, their stick skills are just phenomenal. Able to pick up ground balls very easily, win draws. If the ball's bouncing, able to take it up off the ground and not fumble it at all. This is just a great team to watch. And again, this is what Coach Weber is trying to build here at Southern Virginia. Her first year here, she knows she's was coming into a building situation, and she's done a phenomenal job with the ladies. And I just look forward to her keep on increasing every year until we get to where Salisbury is.
Point blank shot score for Salisbury. Nice pass, and that went to Hannah Young, the sophomore. She came in as one of the top scorers for Salisbury, and she has a goal, and it's now 8-0 Salisbury. We'll have to also take a look at maybe the Capital softball standings because, again, Harrisburg is the team that the Knights will be playing tomorrow, and I believe they are 6-2 on the season.
Yeah, they're 6-2. The 2 teams that have really gotten in the games are Wesley and Mary Washington. They've been able to get in a lot of games. Everybody else has not gotten in a lot of games. Southern Virginia has only got in 3. Everybody else has at least 11 games in. And it's just been where the Knights have been scheduled to play. Unfortunately, it rained them out the other day, and they're supposed to just go down to Roanoke. And this has been something that's been going on just throughout the season. Looks like the other teams may have gone south for their spring break to get some games in.
Yeah, the Knights were able to get a game in, I believe, on Tuesday against the Ferrum JV and lost that 6-3. So at least they were able to get a game in a few days in advance of that home doubleheader against Penn State Harrisburg tomorrow.
Now we see Rainey taking the ball down, being hounded by that stubborn Salisbury defense.
Yeah, Rainey has possessed the ball for maybe about 30 seconds in this game, 30, and we've only got about 11 minutes to go. Knights trail 8-0 right now.
You see Claire trying to slow things down, find some cutters, but Salisbury's been doing a great job of bumping the cutters and keeping people in front of them.
And they don't back off. They've got an 8-0 lead, and they're right in your face defensively. I mean, everybody, including the person right behind the cage.
Well, Salisbury has such a deep team that if you don't perform, someone can come out and take your place.
And they also attack someone who tries to go one-on-one, as you saw Rainey Whitworth looking for an opening. A second defender got in her face very quickly.
Yeah, they're going to double team you. And if your stick skills aren't good and you can't make passes out of the double team, you're going to be in for a very long day.
I don't believe the Knights have a shot yet, right?
No, haven't taken a shot yet.
Here's Zoe. but just nowhere to go as far as some one-on-one action, and she did a spin move, lost the ball, and now a whistle.
And it looks like she stepped into the goal area. So it'll be a turnover for the Knights. That goal circle, you can't go in there. That's one of those restricted areas, kind of like Area 51. You just can't go there.
The goalie, by the way, Chelsea Weinstein, she's a junior, 5'5", from Reisterstown, Maryland, and she's had a pretty easy day of it so far.
Yeah, those are the type of days that goalies really like, is when they can sit back and kind of direct traffic and not have to worry about a lot of things so far. Now, the Knights can turn it around and start putting a lot of pressure on the goalie. We'll have to see what the offense.
Well, for the Knights to do that, they're really going to have to get that passing game going, because as we've seen, one-on-one just not going to cut it against a team as talented as the Seagulls.
The passing game, and also win a few draws.
Mm-hmm. And get some turnovers if that's possible. Shot is off the bar by Salisbury, but there they are, scooping up a loose ball again.
See, and they're just about a step quicker than the Knights right now, which again you can attribute to, one, their great skill, two, just the depth that the Seagulls have. They're able to run people on the field in and out and keep fresh legs.
So you can see the Knights have 4 saves, but there's an easy goal for Salisbury as they are able to make the connection. Alyssa Talbert, the freshman attack person, able to scoring. And now it is 9-0. The Salisbury Seagulls on top, as we have now played just about 21 minutes, and the Knights yet to get a shot on goal, yet to get a shot, and Salisbury has 9 goals now.
Yeah, and that's the second goal that they've generated without having an assist. But we saw a different strategy that time that the Salisbury showed. We saw all the players lifted up above the goal box there, and they went one-on-one from behind the goal.
It'll be interesting to see how this one plays out the rest of the way, Mike. Not so much the score. You got a feeling, obviously, Salisbury's headed for victory today, but will the Knights be able to actually generate some offense, get some shots on goal, maybe even get a few goals here? They were able to score a goal against Salisbury last year, lost that game 14-1, but here they're trailing already 9-0.
Well, at that point, the Knights were playing for pride and all, and I think this team is much better than the team from last year. I think Salisbury understands that, and they're playing a little bit harder also.
Rainey Whitworth with it right now. Tries to spin, but when she does, she spins right into a double team. And she ends up passing it over to Zoe. Zoe will try a little spin move. She'll shoot, and finally a shot on goal and a good save by the goalie Weinstein. Otherwise, Zoe might have been able to put forth the first goal of the game for Southern Virginia.
And you saw how the Salisbury defender was so low that the only place that Zoe could shoot the ball was up high, and that gave the advantage to the goalkeeper.
Still a great move by Zoe to really set herself up for that kind of shot. Just a good save by the goalkeeper for the Seagulls.
If the Knights can generate more of those shots, they'll be knocking on the door, and anytime you start getting multiple shots in, they can start sneaking by the goalkeeper.
Well, maybe towards halftime, Mike, we'll start talking about the NCAA basketball scores. This is something, does it consume you?
Oh, it consumes me completely. Nice save by Cammie.
Oh, definitely. And she is able to possess it, too. So the Knights stopping the Seagulls that time and trying to go back on offense now.
Yeah, we've seen so many times where goalkeepers are able to stop shots but not being able to keep the ball in their lacrosse stick or be able to scoop it up. That time Cammie was able to do both.
And now they got to be very careful with these passes with Cammie behind the goal. You don't want to be losing one now. Here is Rainey. Over to Zoe. They work it out and work it upfield. So a good clearing effort by the Knights. And now Zoe, as she was approaching a double team, looked like she just tripped and fell.
They'll say that she got pushed, so we'll keep the ball.
And so the Knights are back on the attack. Here comes Rainey. Took a little pop on the head there.
Nice fake shot right there. And let's see if the Knights can get their second shot on goal, and maybe this time be a little bit more accurate with their shot and put it in.
They don't try to run as many cutters, not quite like the weave offense, more or less like Salisbury's got.
No, and that just goes to, again, the Knights' strength is that one-on-one play so far this year. That's what they feel really comfortable with. Salisbury, we've seen them just very technical with their passing.
Hodeling's got it right now, but they're not giving her an inch.
No, and she might be one of the stronger players that the Knights have, and if you're able to keep her out, then you've done a great job.
She drops it off for Zoe. She tries to move to the middle, fires a shot. No, I thought that was going in.
Oh, that was a much better shot. You saw that Zoe was able to get a clear path to the goal.
Well, she's just so quick.
She is,
and it's very tough for the defenders to double team her. And credit Hodeling for able to track down the ground ball after the missed shot, so the Knights still have it. This might be a breathing break, I would think.
Maybe
because
so.
Zoe's been doing a lot of running.
She is a little spark plug, and she has so much energy. But after you,
she tried to pass
tried
to
to get it
Claire.
there.
Good
to Claire.
idea, but knocked away and scooped up by Salisbury. And there is Rainey
foul,
bumping the Seagull from behind.
Now it would be great if we could force a turnover here with the goalie out of goal. And get a quick shot.
Long pass upfield. And Salisbury back on the attack again. Been a while since they've scored, maybe a few minutes. We're down to 4:25 to go in the first half, and still 9-0. Seagulls on top.
Yeah, the Seagulls just came out and blitzed Southern Virginia at the very beginning of the game. I think they caught the Knights kind of napping on a few possessions, but since about the 10-minute mark, the Knights have played much better.
And I don't know what the philosophy is when you're way ahead, Mike, especially once we get to the second half. If you just keep going forward, the old running up the score, or what the philosophy is, how that compares to other sports.
Well, we've seen Salisbury play here in the first half, and we've seen them be very patient with their offense, sending a lot of cutters through. And if they didn't have the perfect shot that they wanted, they just kept on rotating their offense. So I would expect that to keep on going, just looking for those great one-on-one opportunities and not trying to force anything.
Knights have possession. .340 to go till halftime, 9-0. Seagulls lead it. Hodeling trying to work through a double team. Got the ball swatted away from behind.
And that's rough trying to go through those double teams. Claire is a very strong player, but when you have people smacking at your stick from both sides, it's really tough to hang on to the ball.
Seagulls bring it back defensively, setting things up with a 9-0 lead.
And Jim, this may be the best passing we've seen on the men or women from opponent or the Knights.
Well, I know Mary Washington, their men's team was pretty patient running things, but hard to imagine a more patient team than the Seagulls, because they've had chances to take shots that just really weren't, I don't know what the percentage, the success rate they're looking for, but if it's not really a good look, they're not going to take the shot. There's a pass in front. Low shot and a goal.
And again, another assist on a goal. And this can be disheartening for the Knights unless Coach Weber and Coach Sorensen has really prepared them and saying this is what we're trying to accomplish today. Yes, a win would be great, but let's be realistic about this and use this as a stepping stone to make our program much better.
Tough day also for Cammie Miller. She's had some saves, but a lot of these shots, again, point blank. And I've also noticed that Salisbury, they do a good job of mixing up the shot. You never know whether it's going to be a high or low shot.
Yeah, once they get you thinking that they're going one way, the next shot will come in totally different angle. So this is one that they'll learn from. They'll go back, they'll watch the film. And a lot of these freshmen come from good programs, but now they're finding out what some of the best programs actually are.
Clock running, 2:15 to go till halftime, 10-0 Seagulls on top. Knights have had a couple of shots on goal, but no goals just yet, and Salisbury wins another draw.
And they're just quicker to the ball right now.
And as you mentioned, too, that they really do a good job scooping up ground balls.
They do. And having so many people on your team of a certain skill level, practices are just, I'm sure, very, very competitive, and that just increases your value when you get into a game.
And who knows, maybe those losses to Catholic and WNL, the close losses, really settled this team down and really made them maybe a tougher team come April.
It could be, you come in after winning 2 national championships in a row. That third year, you think you're just on top of everything, and maybe didn't work as hard in the off season as the coaching staff would have liked them to. I know sometimes coaches really enjoy a team earning a loss every once in a while just to refocus them.
But again, as you mentioned, Catholic was an overtime loss. Washington Lee, a loss by 1 goal, and both of those were on the road.
Oh, nice stop by Cammie there.
Although the player got bumped from behind.
Let's see if they're going to give it to him for
upon taking the shot. Sammy Quilter, the freshman, got bumped as she took that shot.
And she's going to get a free position shot here. So again, Cammie 1-on-1.
62 seconds left until halftime. 10-0 Seagulls. They'll take the shot. Bounces, no good, and still possessed, though, by the Seagulls.
Yeah, but again, Cammie was able to cut the angle off enough where the shot had to be closer to the pipe than I'm sure she really wanted to. And, even though he didn't repossess the ball, kept the ball out of the goal.
Looked like there was about 10 seconds there where the clock wasn't running. Just noticed it went from 102 to 101. And, of course, they had stopped the clock with 102. And a shot is not good by Salisbury, but there they are scooping up the loose ball again with right now 40 seconds on the clock.
Another push foul.
See if the Seagulls just look for their best shot possible, or maybe try to run a little more time off the clock before halftime.
You see they're starting to raise everybody up high again.
And a shot is in. Shot taken by Quilter, the freshman, and she scores to make it 11-0 Salisbury with 21 seconds to go. And that's time enough for them to score with the way they've been winning these draws.
Exactly. But you see the diversity of the Seagulls. We saw in the first part of the first half, the first 15 minutes, a lot of weaving in and out and a lot of assists. Then the last part, we've seen them where they're raising everybody up and going one-on-one from behind the goal.
And you see a little frustration maybe on some of the Knights' faces, the players.
Yeah, you can't help but be frustrated. But as they look back and in the next couple of years, as the team from Southern Virginia gets better and better and better, they'll understand that they were laying the groundwork for what Coach Weber has in mind.
I'll tell you one thing, it's going to be tough for anybody to beat Salisbury if they can't win draws against this team.
Oh, they're so technical and so well prepared that if they get the ball, they're going to keep it, again, either going to get a shot into the goal or they're going to get multiple shots on goal.
Looks like Salisbury's going to have it with 17 seconds left till halftime. Let's see if they've got enough skill here to get a shot off before halftime. 12 seconds to go. They're going to run somebody behind the cage with only 7 seconds left. Pass towards the middle. And they do not get a shot off. They had a chance there, Mike, with maybe a couple seconds to maybe take perhaps not a great shot, but a shot nonetheless, and they declined. And so Salisbury goes into the halftime break with a big 11-goal lead here.
Yeah, and we've just seen them execute so well. It caught the Knights really at the very beginning of the game, caught them just not prepared to play as fast as Salisbury was prepared to play. And after about the first 15 minutes, the Knights have kind of settled down a little bit, got into the offensive zone, got 2 shots on goal now. Looking forward to seeing in the second half if they can do something a little bit different in order to create some more shots on goal.
So again, halftime score here from the fields at Southern Virginia University. Salisbury 11 and Southern Virginia University nothing. We're going to take a little break, come back in just a few minutes for second half action, so stay with us. Welcome back to the fields at Southern Virginia University. Jim Bresnahan joined by Mike Harmon. We are bringing you women's lacrosse action today here from Southern Virginia University. Halftime score, Salisbury 11, Southern Virginia nothing. Shots on goal in that first half. Shots on goal, 20 shots taken by Salisbury, and only 2 shots were taken by Southern Virginia. And when you look at the balanced scoring by Salisbury, they had 11 goals in that first half, Mike, and they had 9 different players scoring those 11 goals, as they had 2 players with 2 goals and everybody else had 1.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. They're a very balanced team, very patient team, and a very technical team. And it shows why we're preseason ranked number 1, and they're back up, working their way back up the polls now after the 2 close losses on the road.
Okay, we mentioned NCAA basketball tournament. Right now, West Virginia's on top of Buffalo, 60-56. And what really shocked you in basically the first day's action on Thursday?
Georgia State against Baylor.
Wow. Okay.
Georgia State with only scoring 38 points in their conference final.
Well, people talk about the 5-12 seed, the 12 seed really being the hot pick, the usual where you can see 1 or 2 upsets, and yesterday it was the 3-14.
Yes, it was, and it just goes to show you when you go into those tournaments, a lot of things can happen. You just throw it out. That's why that $1 million bracket hasn't been won yet.
Yeah, a lot of people were looking at Baylor and Iowa State as maybe being teams that could get to the Final Four, and they don't even get out of the first round, or basically the second round, I guess they now call it.
Yeah, they get the quick trip home now.
Well, here, Mike, the Knights are down by 11 as we start second half play. What do you think the Knights are going to maybe do any different here perhaps in the second half? I know they would like to get a couple of goals and try to really shut down the Salisbury attack, but Salisbury again wins the draw, or at least they had it momentarily. It's tough to really shut down Salisbury's offense when they keep winning the draw.
Yeah, they keep on winning the draw. They're going to possess the ball for a very long time and look for those great shots. Hopefully the Knights will be able to do a little bit better job on the ground balls. They only picked up 2 in the last half. Salisbury picked up 6. They just picked up another one right there. So it'd be nice to see the Knights possess the ball a little bit longer, and that's going to have to come off either the face-off or picking up ground balls off of shots from Salisbury.
Twice this season the Knights have been held to 2 goals, Methodist and also Bridgewater. They've yet to score today. Nice pass across the middle, but no shot taken.
Yeah, didn't have the angle, didn't want to risk it. And with the way that the Seagulls have been running their offense to precision, why risk it if it's not a sure thing?
Pass in point-blank range, but again, a couple of defenders there, so Salisbury backs it out again.
And that was a nice adjustment that we've seen the Knights make right now. They're sending 2 anytime that a cutter catches the ball in the middle of the field. They're sending 2 defenders right at her. And already, Jim, we've played much better in the second half than we did at the start of the first half.
The Salisbury's had it for about a minute and a half, and no clear-cut openings to the goal so far for the Seagulls. Knights doing a good job sticking with those cutters. Well, Buffalo's tied West Virginia now 62-62 in college basketball tournament action.
Just the patience of the Salisbury offense is just something to behold. And in order to be this patient, you have to be technically sound enough to make great passes.
Not sure if it's easier to be patient when you're on top by 11 as opposed to maybe a really close score, but either way, you get the feeling that the Seagulls wouldn't probably change things a whole lot based on the score.
No, I think this is, again, we saw 2 different ways they've ran their offense. One with the weave type of and cutting through the middle of the field, and then lifting all their players up and going one-on-one from behind the goal. Looking at some of their other scores, they seem like they're a very patient team and just want to make sure that every shot they get is going to count.
And they break somebody through, and the shot is taken and scored by Emma Wall.
I think they called a push there.
Push before the shot, which would wipe out the goal.
But it looks like it's going to give the Seagulls a free position shot.
And it'll be taken by the attack man, Emma Wall. She dashes in, fires the shot. Good block
Nice.
by Cammie, and she scoops it up.
Not only Cammie, but all the defenders of the Knights were able to get in there and get their stick in the way. So the only shot that was available was right down the middle. And Cammie did a nice job of not only stopping the shot, but possessing the ball.
And now the Knights will try to clear it and get onto the offense and take their third shot of the game and try to score their first goal of the game. Zoe Bradshaw drops it off to Rainey. 4 defenders around her. She circles to try to lose some of them. Gets it over to Zoe. She lost the ball. Hits the turf.
She got checked there really hard. They're going to keep possession with the Knights.
See the soccer practice in the background. I guess they do some practicing, Mike, during the spring.
Yeah, they have a 5-week period, and it's called a non-traditional season, that they're able to get out and get some technical things shored up that they didn't do very well in the first part of the year. Again, it's just a nice way to keep the kids involved in their sport, but there are some major rules that you have to follow during that 5 weeks.
Clock's still running here. Second half action. Knights trailed at halftime 11-0. That's our score right now as Zoe Bradshaw works through a double team, lost the ball, got bumped, and keeps it.
And you see that Salisbury doesn't change the way they play. You get too close to the goal, they're going to send 2 people at you.
Zoe gets through momentarily, but then the ball pops loose, and that's just good defense by Salisbury. And you can see the frustration by Zoe. She thought if she'd been able to hold on to the ball, might have had a good look at a goal, or at least a good shot, but Salisbury was able to knock that ball away.
Yeah, and 3 defenders that time were actually coming down on Zoe, and one was able to get her stick on Zoe's stick to cause the ball to pop loose.
And so Salisbury sets up their offense yet again. But this time we played over 5 minutes of the second half, and Salisbury yet to score.
And I don't believe that the coaches from Salisbury are too upset or worried that they haven't scored yet. They're really trying to work on their execution, making sure that. Oh, nice ground ball pickup by Sarah Vanderwind.
Yeah, a high pass, and Sarah is able to scoop up the loose ball, but her pass upfield is knocked away by Salisbury momentarily. Now picked up by the Knights. As Griffiths gets it over to Rainey. Knights looking for their first goal today. They had 1 goal against Salisbury last year. Won that game. Salisbury did 14-1. Rainey going one-on-one. Draws 3 defenders now. Passes back. High pass, though. And scooped up again by the Seagulls.
But that was nice that Rainey actually realized who was open. Again, tough pass to make when you have 3 people hanging on you. If she would have been able to complete that pass to Claire, it would have been a wide open shot.
And the Seagulls are back on the attack here, 11-0 lead. Knights will be at home again next Friday, taking on St. Mary's. Next Friday at 5 o'clock, we will have that for you. Also, we'll have a doubleheader coming up on Saturday, and Salisbury scores their first goal of the second half, a goal scored by Arian Maxwell, the sophomore.
Again, when you're right on the doorstep, there's not a lot that Cammie could do about that. The Knights have been playing really good defense up to that point, keeping people away from Cammie and causing them to not take the shots because of bad angles.
Well, the big question now, Mike, I guess for Knights fans is can Southern Virginia break through here in the final 22 minutes or so and score a goal, or maybe multiple goals?
Well, we've seen that they have the capability to put some goals up on the board against several different opponents, and we thought that they've turned the corner after their last 2 games. Today it's just been they haven't been able to generate enough shots on goal to let the averages work out to give them a great goal or multiple goals. Salisbury's just been possessing the ball way too long.
No, without question, I think they faced some pretty good teams this year in Methodist and also Bridgewater, and of course Mary Washington on March the 7th. But hard to believe any of those teams compare really to Salisbury.
Yeah, and The Salisbury may not have the statistics that some of the other top 20 teams have as far as goal differential, but just as far as being such technically sound passers and being able to really adjust and execute their system, Salisbury has just been phenomenal to watch.
And I think I mentioned this in the first half. This is one of those programs where they don't necessarily rebuild, but they just reload.
Oh, they reload all the time. And if you go up to Salisbury University and go into their athletic facility, you'll see how much they really emphasize not just their whole sports, but lacrosse is the main sport.
So what's the superior program right now, you think? Is it men's or women's lacrosse for Salisbury? Because they're pretty good at men's lacrosse.
I think they're equal. Now, men's lacrosse has won more national championships. But right now, I think they're on equal footing. Just the way that they play and the way they carry themselves, they're just really, really good programs who've been to the top of the mountain and understand what it takes to not only get there but stay there.
And a lot of these capital teams, including Southern Virginia, are trying to figure out, okay, how can we get up to that level, not just once but consistently?
Well, a lot of it has to do with what you just said, being consistent and having a lot of continuity. And that's where the Knights, being such a new program, they haven't had that chance to really form any traditions and make any type of continuity teams, because every team they have has been a little bit different. Sometimes the great players don't come back. So they're trying to build just like Salisbury's been building with a lot of consistency.
And it may well be, Mike, that of all the sports in the capital, or in the case of football, the New Jersey Athletic Conference, that's the biggest gap or the biggest ladder to climb for the Knights is maybe lacrosse. It's hard to imagine. I mean, in the New Jersey Athletic Conference, you got like Rowan, who's usually a good power, and of course we've seen really some good basketball in the Capital Conference, but the men's and women's basketball teams have been able to compete on a pretty regular basis. Maybe lacrosse is the biggest ladder to climb right now for the athletic department here at Southern Virginia.
I think it would be. It'd be being compared to being in the same conference as Wisconsin Whitewater or Mount Union in
for
football.
Yep.
So you always want to try to build to those statues, and when you have the national champion in your conference, or multiple national champions in your conference, you just got to step your game up.
Knights really doing a good job battling defensively. I think they're going to say that Golder pushed, so Salisbury takes it, moves it around. They don't seem to be in any big hurry in the second half to really aggressively go for shots on goal. They throw right over the middle. Nice block by Cammie.
Yeah, played it right off the goal post there.
And the loose ball picked up, though, by Salisbury, so they still have it with 18:40 to go in the ball game.
And that's been a lot of the difference between Salisbury and the Knights, is that Salisbury is able to get those balls that are loose on the ground. They're just a step quicker right now to the ball and anticipating where the ball is going to be.
And when they possess, and you're fortunate enough that they miss maybe a point-blank shot or your goalie's able to stop it, you've really got to pick up those loose balls as Salisbury scores yet again.
Yeah, you don't do yourself any favors by not possessing the ball after a missed shot. Salisbury is the type of team that you give them multiple chances, they're going to make you pay at some point in that possession.
That was a freshman, I believe, Kaylee Pruner, scoring. She's from Hollis, New Hampshire. She scores to make it 13-0. Salisbury on top. They have 2 goals now here in the second half. Knights still looking for their first goal of the game, and they've got a little over 17 minutes to work with.
So while they're getting ready for the face-off, we'll give some scores really quick. You have West Virginia over Buffalo, 68-62. That just went final. Indiana is trailing Wichita State, 61-57 with 8:22 left to go in the game. UVA is over Belmont by 12, 49-37 with 15 minutes left to go in the first half. And UCI and Louisville have just started in the first half. They're about halfway through, and UCI is up by 1.
Cal Irvine. So give me a prediction, Mike. What do you think? Who's going to beat Kentucky? Will anybody beat Kentucky?
I think someone can beat Kentucky if you take the field versus Kentucky, but Kentucky's going to have to do a lot of things to beat themselves on that game too.
Here comes Rainey Whitworth trying to go through the field, but ran into a couple of defenders. Almost looked like for a second there she might go all the way to the goal. Now she's only got one defender momentarily. Fires a high shot and in. And the Knights have their first goal. Rainey Whitworth, her 22nd goal of the season.
And you saw that she faked the shot the first time and then came back after the little fake, which gave her the to see where the goalie was going to actually move, and then bounced it in right by her. Great job by the Knights to manufacture that goal.
And now we'll see if they can build upon that and get maybe multiple goals. They were able to get one goal last year against Salisbury. Lost that game 14-1. Now trailing here 13-1.
And if Salisbury's defense is going to let down any again with these one-on-one players that the Knights have, whether it's Rainey or Zoe or Claire, the Knights will have a great chance to increase that goal total because that's what they do the best is one-on-one.
No, Rainey's a little bigger, of course, at 5'8", but Zoe's a little faster. But that time it was kind of surprising that Salisbury didn't put a second defender on. Rainey let her go right in with only one defender to work with, as the draw this time is battled for. And finally, it comes away to Salisbury.
Well, we saw this with the Knights men's team the other day. They got a big lead, and then all of a sudden defensively just became really lackadaisical. Not saying that Salisbury is going to become that lackadaisical, because I'm sure that one goal woke them up a little bit, but anytime you're playing with a big lead, if you let down, someone's going to score against you.
Also looks like some of the players that we saw, the first teamers for Salisbury in that first half, looks like they've got a lot of second teamers in there maybe right now, and they score again. That was Pruner again, the freshman who just scored a couple of seconds ago. She gets another goal to make it 14-1, so Salisbury didn't have to wait too long to get that goal back.
No, and no one was there. No one marked her and checked her as she was coming through the middle of the field. Just a defensive letdown. So, the Knights scored, and we're up on a high about scoring against Salisbury, and you just can't forget about playing defense.
Well, if the Knights can win the draw, maybe they can pick up goal number 2. Okay, we've got softball action coming up tomorrow starting at noon. Southern Virginia finally getting a home softball game, and they'll be taking on Penn State Harrisburg in a doubleheader tomorrow.
Or finally just getting a softball game.
Yeah, they've only played 3 so far. 2 against Avery back in February, and as you mentioned, the Ferrum JV game earlier this week. Draw won solidly by Salisbury. Seagulls on the attack, under 14 minutes to go now in the game.
Again, just don't see anything different from the Seagulls. They're going to be patient. They're going to run somebody to the front of the goal right there and score again. Great catch.
That was Emma Wall, another freshman. A lot of freshmen doing some damage today for the Seagulls.
And they're trying to show their coach, hey, put me in and this is what I can do. But they have those juniors and seniors in front of them that have done it for them before. So, like I said,
got to be deflating too for opposition when you see someone. And of course, you probably don't have a lot. Maybe they don't know they're freshmen. But when you see these freshmen score, you think, oh, good, 3 or 4 more years with them, huh?
Yeah. Well, the coaches know who they are.
Yeah.
So you go, oh, good, 3 or 4 more years in. But like you said, Jim, they don't rebuild. Salisbury and teams like Salisbury don't rebuild. They just keep on reloading.
And I'm not sure it's necessarily the talented players they have as much as their system seems like it works.
It works, and when they go out and recruit players, they recruit players to fit that system. And if you want to play on a national championship team, sometimes you have to sacrifice a little bit of your own style of play.
Looks like they're going to do that draw over.
Both players must have started a little bit early.
Clock running here, down to 12:15 to go. Zoe Bradshaw is able to scoop it up momentarily, lose it. Still on the ground. Knights battling for it. They pick it up. Darian Sorensen, the junior, with it. Now Zoe's got it. Had it. Lost it. Picks it back up. Through 3 defenders and finally gets knocked to the turf.
At that point, it'd be nice if some of the Knights would make themselves available for an open pass, because Zoe just takes a lot of punishment.
Here comes Rainey with it. She's got the only goal so far today for Southern Virginia. Had it, lost it, and Salisbury takes it away. Seagulls bring it upfield with a 14-goal lead.
And even though they possess that ground ball, it's one of the first times we've seen them not be able to pick the ground ball up on the first try.
You don't see some of the players that started out the game, some of their top players like Haker and Young out there right now, but they've got a lot of freshmen. And another goal. This time, the goal is by Murphy. Kristen Murphy is scoring, and she is a freshman. And she makes it 16-1 Salisbury.
And we talked early at the very beginning of the broadcast that how many people that Salisbury actually has on their team. About 2.5 times that of the roster of the Knights, and they just keep running wave after wave after wave in. Unfortunately, the Knights are down in numbers this year, and everybody has to be out there on the field and playing, and sometimes that just causes those legs to go away.
Knights have really only been blown out in a couple of games this year. The opener against Methodist, that was a 22-2 final, and they also lost to Bridgewater 19-2 and Mary Washington 16-3. The last 2 games they had scored 19 goals in losses to Beloit and Columbia, and again today just 1 goal so far. Rennie Whitworth getting that one.
And a lot of that has to deal with them not being able to possess the ball at all.
And of course that comes down to the draws.
Yep.
And this draw battled for,
and
almost taken away by Samantha Jones, but picked up by Salisbury.
And you see how quickly they get the ball into the offensive zone. Once they pick up a ground ball, they're either going to pass it 1 or 2 passes ahead to get to the offensive zone, or just make a straight run to it.
Knights aggressively trying to get that ball back, maybe on a Salisbury turnover. Haven't had too many turnovers by Salisbury today. They pick up a loose ball, don't take the shot though. Had a wide open player in the middle, and they score, as that one was by Dana King, the freshman, and she was wide open for several seconds before she got the pass, Mike.
Yeah, that was a nice back cut by Dana. As the Knights are trying to double team now, that's going to leave more shooters open for the Seagulls, and we've seen that the Seagulls are very, very accurate when they shoot.
And now 17-1 Salisbury on top.
Looks like there's a timeout again called by the Knights.
This might be just the coaches, Mike. Told them don't quit here in the final 8:57. Let's get some more goals.
Yeah, just trying to re-emphasize, okay, you know what we've talked about at halftime. This is what we wanted to accomplish. We've accomplished the first goal, score a goal. Let's accomplish the next one. We talked to Coach Sorensen the other day on the men's broadcast, and he told us that he thought they should be able to score 3 goals against Salisbury this year because they have a little bit better talent and a little bit more continuity on their team. So now they're talking about, let's win the draw, or let's possess a ground ball and get back down to the offensive end and try to execute.
Don't forget, we've got women's softball coming up tomorrow at noon. Penn State Harrisburg the opponent, as we'll have Southern Virginia softball. And, of course, the men's lacrosse team will be on the road Saturday, 4 o'clock, I believe, start time against St. Mary's. And that'll be an interesting game to watch the result of that one.
Yeah, we'll try to keep up with that at the very end of the softball game if the Knights are able to start the game on time at St. Mary's. If they had the same problem that we had today, they might not start that game till 5 or 6 o'clock. But it'll be a very interesting game. The Knights have a little bit of momentum going from their last game into this Capital.
I'm not sure what the St. Mary's field's like, but the baseball team is also scheduled to play at St. Mary's, a doubleheader tomorrow.
And hopefully they can all get them in. Tomorrow we're supposed to have something we haven't seen in a little while. The sun is supposed to be popping out.
Could be up around 70 degrees.
Could be up around 70 degrees. We'll be out in our Hawaiian gear tomorrow. Or I'll be out in my Hawaiian shirt tomorrow.
You're going to need a camera for that, aren't you?
I don't think we need that. That's the reason why they stopped putting us on cameras. I've broken too many of them. But in
Yeah, I think they ran out of backups.
this last 8 minutes and 57 seconds, the Knights are really going to have to concentrate on trying to do two things: win the draw, and when they do win the draw, make sure that they're patient enough to get an open shot. If they don't win the draw, then they're going to really not try to gamble so much, but play strong defense to.
Yeah, my guess is we've had
shots.
about 19 draws, 18 draws, whatever, and they've won one or two.
Yes.
Not sure they keep that stat either. Draws won, do they?
It could be on some of our stat sheets. They hand us a stack of sheets about 7 pages long.
Yeah, those are the two I'd be curious to know. And I would think they'd be somewhat important. Draws won and time of possession. See who wins this draw with 8:57 to go in the contest. I know they keep the ground ball stat, Mike, and that's another important stat that maybe is perhaps not always appreciated.
Yeah, anytime you can pick up one of those ground balls, again, that gives you another possession. And we've seen Salisbury be one of the best teams that we've seen so far at picking up those ground balls very quickly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the D3 women's lacrosse tournament, and for that matter, the men's lacrosse tournament, to see exactly how Salisbury does in both.
Yeah, we've seen their women's basketball team and their men's basketball team go forward into the NCAA tournament. Unfortunately, both of them got put out. The women did make it
to the final eight.
The final eight and the
Elite Eight.
And we want to congratulate Anna Hackett. She was named an All-American this year, and also their coach. She was named the Region Coach of the Year.
I'm trying to think. They do have the opportunity for some pro for the women, and beyond the WNBA. I don't know if they can go over to Europe and play. I wondered if Anna Hackett's got any aspirations to play beyond college.
She may, and I know
not a whole lot of size, obviously.
Not a whole lot of size, but once you go overseas, you can. It depends on where you go to and the level that you play at. But she could have definite opportunities overseas to play.
Salisbury took a shot that sailed over the cage, but they were the closest to it, so they still possess it.
And there you saw Salisbury had a clear shot to the goal, and they just didn't take it, so they're just going to be content in running some of the clock now.
And this could well be Salisbury, maybe second, third teamers out there. And they've got some talented
they have
bench players too.
You know, practices for Salisbury have to be very, very spirited. Again, you have these talented freshmen that come in, and they're coming in from high school careers that they were the top dog, and now these juniors and seniors that are with Salisbury have to really work hard to make sure that their spot doesn't get taken.
Zoe Bradshaw thought she'd gotten the takeaway, but whistled instead. Of course, the men will be taking on Salisbury on the 28th. The women will be playing, of course, St. Mary's next Friday, 5 o'clock in lacrosse action. The men play the following day on March the 28th, that's Saturday, taking on Salisbury. So the men get the challenge of the Salisbury Seagulls a week from tomorrow.
And it'll be just about the same type of challenge that we're seeing right now. Very technical and talented team.
Salisbury going to improve to 4-2 this season. Knights will drop to 0-8. We'll see if they get that road game in against Sweetbriar this week. Otherwise, again, they'll be playing St. Mary's at home next Friday at 5 o'clock. And you know, the women lacrosse team, they really want to get at least one win this season, Mike. Nice pass in front of the middle, but no shot taken by Salisbury.
And we've talked several times about how this is a growing program, trying to come up with little steps at a time, build it the right way. We talked with Coach Sorensen about it on the men's broadcast, and he said the same thing, that they're trying to start some traditions, trying to build things a little bit at a time.
That's not easy, as he mentioned, for the players to lose, maybe in some cases lose badly, and just keep their heads up.
Yeah, they're all very competitive, and no one likes to lose at all. but they do have to remember that they're playing some of the best teams in the nation, and that's what you want to do as a player, is try to see where you stack up against some of the better players, not only in your conference but in the United States.
Well, we'll see who might be either the top team in the Capital this year, whether it's going to be Salisbury or not in women's action, or if Salisbury is the number one team, then who's the number two team? Because York, of course, is in the top 15 for Division III women's lacrosse, already lost to Salisbury, and they'll be visiting Southern Virginia on the 11th of April.
Yeah, and we've seen Mary Washington and commented then how good Mary Washington really looked. And nice takeaway by Rainey.
And Rainey drops it off to Cammie as they set up the clearing with 4:22 to go.
Now the Knights need to clear and possess to get another shot on goal.
Knights outscored 6-1 here in the second half. It was 11-0 at halftime. And if they're going to get goals 2 and 3, they've got about 4 minutes to work with. Right now, Cammie Miller just looking for somebody to get it off to so they can clear it. High pass to Zoe. She's pushed from behind. No whistle. And Salisbury's got it back.
Yeah, it looked like Cammie was looking for one of the...
Shot good by Salisbury again to make it 18-1.
Looked like Cammie was waiting to try to find one of the big three there, either Zoe or Rainey or Claire, and just never happened.
That is the 7th goal of the second half for the Seagulls. Clock still running, 3:15 to go in the second half.
You know, and if you look at some of these scores and never see the teams play, you would sit there and think, well, they really tried to run it up on such and such a team. But after watching the Seagulls play, they're just so technical and so advanced.
Well, it's
in
kind of
their
like any
passing.
sport too. I mean, you bring in second, third teamers, whatever you want to call them, and they want to play.
They need to show the coach, hey, this is what I can do.
Knights will try to win this draw and get their second goal. Rennie Whitworth has the only goal today for the Knights. And Rainey is able to scoop it up. Let's see if the Knights can get a shot off here with just 2:30 to go in the game. Zoe Bradshaw lost it. Looked like she wanted to go through a double team, was maybe spotting up for a pass, Mike, and the ball popped out, and Salisbury gets it again.
Yeah, Coach Sorensen has talked a little bit about them playing with a little bit too loose of a stick and not being very tight with their cradling. So we'll see how Salisbury finishes out this last 2 minutes of the game, if they're going to try to attack, if they're just going to keep running their offense through, and if they have a wide open shot, take it, or if they're just going to make sure that they possess the ball.
Well, the Knights would love to get possession of this, try to get a second goal. They were able to score 1 goal last year against Salisbury. There's Zoe Bradshaw knocking the pass away and scooping up the loose ball, and she stepped out of bounds.
You see the exasperation on her face.
I think when she finally got there, she just didn't realize how close she was to the marker. So Salisbury takes it back with 1:38 to go. So join us for softball doubleheader tomorrow. Penn State, Harrisburg, the opponent. Mike, what do you expect from the women's softball team, which is another program here at Southern Virginia that is, again, its early stages?
We don't really know what to expect. We haven't been able to see them play or talk to Coach Hall about what to expect. She really doesn't know what to expect because they haven't played, like you said, in about 24 days. And in order for you to get any better, you have to be able to not only get out and practice, but you have to play some games. So tomorrow's going to be a really the first time we can know anything about the softball team.
You wonder if Logan Mann is really undergoing the same kind of situation, maybe to a lesser degree for baseball, because baseball has been able to get a few games in, just nowhere near as much as I'm sure he was hoping for.
Yeah, his office is right beside mine, and I've talked to him a little bit about baseball, and he really doesn't know what he has. He's on paper he knows, but until you get him into game-tested situations, you just never know how people are going to react. And again, not being able to play the games, the hitters are behind right now with the pitchers, and he's beside himself.
And Salisbury looks like they maybe just running the clock out here, Mike, with 23 seconds to go. Doesn't appear they're going to take a shot at the goal, but we'll see. So Salisbury's going to improve again to 4-2 on the season. They've had 2 close losses. The Knights will drop to 0-8 on the season, and 0-2 now in the Capital Conference. And it looks like that's going to be the final score, an 18-1 final, as Salisbury declines to take that last shot.
And a valiant effort by the Knights. They never gave up, but just playing against the preseason #1 team in the nation, and the Seagulls looks like they're finally starting to hit their stride. Effort's not going to do against them.
So a big win today for Salisbury. They led 11-0 at halftime. They hold the Knights down to just 1 goal. Rainey Whitworth got that goal for the Knights, who dropped to 0-8 on the season, and Salisbury improves to 4-2 on the season. Make sure you join us for women's softball action coming up on Saturday at noon, as the Southern Virginia women in softball take on again Penn State Harrisburg, a doubleheader coming up on Saturday, so make sure you join us for that. That'll wrap things up here from the fields at Southern Virginia University. Final score again, Salisbury 18 and Southern Virginia University 1. For Mike Harmon, I'm Jim Bresnahan. Thanks for joining us today.